So I've been mentioning in my past few videos about Alinsky, these along the lines of Karl Marx, all of them. There's something they all have in common. They their mind went mad. There's been so many experts that have studied them, like their works, like Karl Marx, for instance. You read some of his poetry, it's like, it's crazy. More than crazy. He's saying he's filled with a demon, and that his mind went mad, and then he lost his heart. But it's really dark, really, really dark. He loved to write poetry, but it got really dark. And all about the enjoyment of wanting to kill how much the greatest joy would be to, stab to death Christians. And so these are the people, just like Alinsky, their mind has been handed over to something wicked. And so then they come and say, yeah, we're going to bring you utopia. The college kids, they convince them of this. And then one of the things they do, of course, is that they do this with socialism too. And there's no such thing as socialism. There isn't. Socialism is the tool used to just take you then, once you're there, into communism. There's no such thing as it. But your AOCs and all of them, or Bernie Sanders, they're just communists. But they'll say things like, well, we're going to do socialism different. Yeah, no. So, you know how it talks about in the Bible that God hands you over? Well, God handed these people over. So this is what everything Jesus was talking about, that we were living around, is this. Because this is directly tied, just like Alinsky dedicating his book to Lucifer himself, as, and referring to Lucifer as the number one, the very first person that bucked the establishment, meaning the establishment of heaven. But they come on the heels, all of these people do, most of them, is that they're atheists, but most of them aren't atheists. Bill Ayers, he has, I posted that one picture where he has he said, he posted it himself, and he titled it on the post, this wasn't that long ago, the dining room altar. Yeah. And it had Castro and Chavez, or just all of those same people in the same circles, the dictators. And really, this goes along with what Jesus meant by Prince of the Air. It is, because then those people, Marx, Alinsky, they go on to write books telling of their communist manifesto that is brought on the heels that we're all going to be equal and it's all going to be inclusive and fair. But really, what they want is something deep, dark, and twisted. I don't even know if they know that. I would think they do. But because they are such good manipulators, and they don't have a heart. They don't. They sold out. They did. They let their mind go mad. And so once their mind, Karl Marx himself talked about this. So it's basically, communism is a form of insanity. It really is. And most of the people that head it up are insane when you look back at their works. Like I said, there's plenty of evidence. It's not like AOC or Bernie Sanders, for sure, don't know this. You know what the biggest killer in the world is communism. It's responsible for the most genocide ever. Time after time after time. It's never done differently. There's nothing good about it. But they convince a bunch of college kids, because that's what they get into. That's where they go. I believe the universities were created for this very reason. I do. Do they teach you some things? I don't know. Yeah, not nowadays. But so this is what they do. They pick a target, they freeze it, they personalize it, and they polarize it. So that's Alinsky. And by the way, Obama, he went to trainings on Alinsky workshops at the Industrial Area Foundation, and then he went on to teach it to others in the 80s. So he knows it quite well. And one of the quotes of Saul Alinsky is, pick a target, freeze it, personalize it, and polarize it. So when they talk about the jab, and I keep relating it back to this because it's very clear to me, because what's come from the jab, well, now Kennedy's running for president, right? Because there's all this time that's been spent organizing, yes, organizing his masses. This is what Obama did. He was a community organizer. When Saul Alinsky would ask people what they, why they want to organize, become organizers, they would give all of these ideas. You know, they want to help others, and he would yell at them, stop. You know, at least he was honest, because in this regard. And he said, no, there's one answer. You're doing it for power. And he's right. He's right. So, I mean, you know, some insight there. But sociopaths have some insight because they know how to manipulate others. They just don't have a soul, really. Most of them, obviously. So what you do is you freeze the target. Remember I said don't let yourself get stuck, and a bunch of people got stuck on all of those channels talking about the jab, okay? Because they want to keep you there stuck, keep feeding you and feeding you and feeding you, and I'm a patriot and on your side, feeding you and feeding you. And then it becomes personal to you, right? Because then it's, my family died. I know these people that died. They have to personalize it. They have to. And then they polarize. So, what has come about because of the entire network of the jabbers, the jabber networks, the stupider, there's so many, I know I keep mentioning them, but you know all the ones out there that strictly focus on that, your Jane Rubies, all of them. They keep you stuck there, right? It becomes they personalize it, yeah? Put a bunch of stories up, this happened in my family, blah, 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 blah. All this stuff, all Karl Marx, all Saul Alinsky's agenda. Because as Saul Alinsky also said, is that properly goaded and guided, they will be your major strength, meaning all the people you organize, and you get stuck. You get stuck and you personalize it, and then it becomes, you become even more tied to them because it's become personal now. And basically they did all this, they've done it since the beginning of time. Convert people from despair to defiance. And then by doing so, you create a mass ego. And I said ego is the biggest thing that will trip people up. And yeah, of course the wicked, and that's what it is. You could really look at what Jesus was talking about in regards to the wicked was communism. Because every leader that has been from communism has all been the same. They did lose their mind. They talked over and over about being controlled by demons, by legions of demons. So that's the principalities that we're facing. It is a war between, the true God and the God of this world. And it's important to recognize that so that you can see the game being played on because the game is in your mind. And don't let anybody get you stuck on something too long. Because if they do, they likely will then personalize it to get you even more tied to them. And the next thing you know, the head of that network, which I would say is RFK Jr., he's now running for president. He has a whole bunch of people that'll go to war. Really? No, my family member died. No, I know everything about, Yep, but it's all Karl Marx and Alinsky. It's all the same exact playbook. So, I'm not saying that there's definitely some very unethical things with the science for sure. This doesn't get them off the hook at all. Not at all. But what that network is doing is the same playbook Obama, Hillary, and all the wicked use.